move on now to the foreign scene, where the Taliban are now back in full control of Afghanistan, almost 20 years after they were driven from the capital, Kabul, by U.S. troops. Despite a continued military presence since 2001, the Taliban have regrouped and regained strength in more remote areas. On Sunday, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani fled the country, abandoning the presidential palace to Taliban fighters. By Monday, chaotic scenes emerged from Kabul airport with scores of civilians trying to flee the country as U.S. resumes air operations. Well, joining us now on the news to give more perspective to this is SEYI ADETAYO, a security consultant. Thank you very much, Mr. ADETAYO, for joining us on News Now. Now, are you surprised about the way this happened? I mean, it happened rather fast and with ease, if you can call it that. Now, if you could just help us analyze why the Afghanistan's civilian government fell so quickly to the Taliban, despite years of war, which also included U.S. military presence. Could you please just do that for us?
Okay, so thank you very much. If you look at the way the event has been unfolding, most importantly, the United States attempts at trying to create some level of stability for the Afghan regime, Afghanistan regime. You'll see that it came lots of difficulty for the American troops. They've lost so many soldiers, and also the coalitions that are also trying to create some level of stability to create support base for the civilian government of Afghanistan. However, if the decision over time, and the reason for the decision is not far-fetched, the occupation of Afghanistan by the United States, which more or less like a base for U.S. to run its military operations around that axis, is not really yielding so much fruit for the United States. And there have been, noise, hues and cries back home as to why should the United States continue to be in Afghanistan, because the excuse as at the time that U.S. invaded Afghanistan in 2001 was because of September 11 attack, where environment for Al-Qaeda and all other terrorist organizations to thrive. And since then, so much had happened. So the Trump regime more or less like threw Afghanistan open for the Taliban by the decision that it took. And because of the agreement signed, Biden had no other option than to just follow through. And that is what we're seeing today. And it is expected that when you've given, that kind of an open route for Taliban to return many years after, that's 20 years after they were ousted from that country, I expect them to do what they're doing right now. That is, using every opportunity, all the available resources. And we should not forget the fact that Pakistan has been providing support in terms of financing, by financing the Taliban. Also, reports also shows that up to about 40 to 50% of the fighters in the Taliban are Pakistanis. So much support have been coming from Pakistan, and I expect that by the time we start reading the next 1 month, we'll see so much, information as to how much of involvement of Pakistan right now in what is happening now. So the recovery of Kabul and Afghanistan as a whole is not coming as a shock. If you look at the way they did in 1996, the way they launched the attack right from Kandahar, taking the city of Kandahar, and they were controlling about 3/4 of the whole country.
I'm sorry to cut you here, Mr. ADETAYO. I apologize, I have to cut you here. But let's also look at how this affects us back in Africa. I know Africa is also facing its own problems as it concerns terrorism. Now, recently in an article, President Buhari said Africa has become the new front line of global militancy. Now, how does the Afghanistan crisis affect the African continent?
Okay, if you look at the history of militancy, terrorism in Africa, it came from Afghanistan and Iran. And it all started with the Iranian Revolution of 1978. That's the Iranian Revolution. It provided the impetus, the motivation for people to believe that they can have an Islamic governor, a government, a theocratic governance. And that was a major motivation for lots of, young, young Muslims, scholars, then to start looking at how they can establish what is happening in Iran in their African countries. And this was immediately followed by the Russian-Afghan war, in which so many people from Africa went to go and join the Mujahideen to fight because they wanted to drive away the infidel. We've seen that this eventually translated to what we saw in Algeria, that is the long civil war in Algeria, and what we are currently facing in Nigeria and other countries around, where young people were motivated to believe that when they begin that it is possible for them to set up a country or to govern the nation under strict Islamic code. And that was exactly what the Taliban did when they came on board. And that is what we see Boko Haram are doing in Nigeria. That's what we see happening in Somalia by the terrorist group in Somalia. What they try to impose is a strict Islamic code. And that's what they believe.
Mr. ADETAYO, I apologize, but this is where we just have to leave it. I apologize. For want of time, we have to just stop it here. Thank you very much, Mr. SEYI ADETAYO, security consultant.